was
lived
recording?
royally on
Oh,
those
no,
weeks
okay.
when they had R&R.
Was Matt in New York the whole time?
No,
Or
Matt,
Washington?
well, Matt was in the Fifth
Charlie was
Army. He was drafted. The others, let's see, Matt was drafted. Tim wanted to join the Canadian Air Force in 1939, and
Before.
Mom and Pop wouldn't sign the papers. So he had to wait until the war started, and then he could enlist. Jerry was drafted, and Dick was drafted. He was drafted right out of high school. But Jerry, Tim. Matt was in the Fifth Army, was shipped to New Guinea when the Japanese were pushing
Oh,
down. Yeah, and pushed them all the way down. And he always said that they were told he was in the back, or he was in an
It was
office.
after the Japanese had started.
Yeah,
their
started to move down the peninsula. And they were told, if the Japanese break through, burn all the papers, and then it's every man for themselves. And his comment was, after everybody left, we looked at each other and we decided, every man for himself, and the hell with the papers. That never happened. But he was in the Fifth Army.
Because he ended up in New York, right?
Yeah,
Charlie?
well, he married a young lady from New York, Dorothy Davenport. I
From
think.
the war. I mean, it wasn't at all. Was it during the war or right after the war that he married?
You're
He
thinking
married during the war,
Maybe
That's what I
you're
thought.
thinking
or
about
while he was
Charlie.
still in the army.
No, I thought it was Matt because I thought it was Matt.
No, Matt married while
'Cause I
he was
never-
still in the
Because
army.
I wasn't born when he had died,
Walking
right?
mom's face.
Didn't he die in New York?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Really early from
Oh,
the
yeah,
Indians?
no,
I mean, that was.
this was well
good.
though after the war.
No, it's fine.
Because
Yeah, in fact, he already
all
had
this
two
Yeah.
children at that. I mean,
No, that's
he
true.
married, had the two
Charlie-
children.
Charlie was in the Navy and he joined the Navy and they sent him to New York and he motored boats for
He stayed in New
yeah.
York the
Yeah,
whole
Mom
time.
Until the very end, they put him on a boat and he got out the Pacific and they watched all of the celebration of the Japanese giving up and
Came back.
got sent back home he'd been in the Navy so long, he was one of the first ones out.
Yeah, and Matt was in New York well, Matt got a job with Learjet, and they were in New York, but that's where Dot came from, and so they just moved back. They were out on,
They're on Long Island.
no, I don't know if it was
someplace.
Manhattan or Long
They
Island.
were on Long Island. The waste went.
Well, I don't know if they were, but I know their oldest daughter got married and moved out to Long Island. We drove out there one time. Mom and Pop and I drove out there in 1950.
Okay, now you have to.
Must have been
Back up.
the summer before I went to college, so it would have been 1950.
Well, then what if I get
If you know the year during the All-Star game, football All-Star game, the undergraduates beat the pro team 9-0 on 3 field goals by
George Landon. That was 51.
I knew his
I
name
remember
at one
when.
time.
I
I
don't
can't
know
remember
that.
Todd.
What was it, 1951?
That's what I think.
Was 50, I think it was 50, the summer between my senior year in high school and freshman year in college.
1862?
But we drove out there and visited them. And I remember with my two, I guess they'd be my what? Nephew and niece?
Yeah.
Yes.
Niece, nephew?
Matt's kids? Yes.
Yeah, okay. They took me out to this little, I don't know whether it was a creek or a spillway or what it was. The road went here, there was a sidewalk, and here was a fence, and we sat on the edge of the fence with hookless, well, they had hooks, barbless fishing line hooks, and you put bread on it, put it down, and you'd wait, and as soon as you felt something, you'd pull it up, and you'd catch blue crabs.
Yeah, we used to
crab.
do
A
that.
whole bunch
We did
of
that
blue
in Connecticut.
crabs.
We used to do that when we were kids. What was,
Just on a blank
what was
string?
Christmas like in
That
1932?
hook without a barb.
How did you sell it? I mean, I'm sure you went to
In
mass.
1932?
Or, well,
I don't know about
42.
42.
39?
But yeah, in the late 30s and early 40s, we
Well, what
lived
kind
in a
of house
house, 2 stories, bedrooms upstairs.
And how many
The
rooms?
upstairs, this is the front of the
There's
house.
5 boys.
The front stairs, you'd come down here and you'd get to a landing halfway
Yeah.
down. And you could go this way into the kitchen or over this way and then down into, I guess you'd call it a foyer or whatever, because it was right where the front door was, with a fireplace here. The living room was here, the dining room was here, the kitchen was here, with a butler's pantry in between.
Yeah,
You got a butler?
Well,
his mother.
Guns to win.
Christmas time, and our Christmas was Christmas morning.
Yeah.
When you got up and you walked over to those steps and you looked at the wall down those steps this way, you could see the colored lights reflecting off. And I swear that was
That was like Christmas morning.
that was the greatest feeling in the world.
I was just peeking through the
But the
bannisters.
other thing,
Yeah.
the other thing that was
Thing,
interesting,
Things glossing.
in those days, well, I don't know about all sizes of packages, but Mom bought 10 pounds of sugar at a time, and they came in cloth bags.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Santa Claus always had under the Christmas tree for each of us without a name.
Yeah.
We didn't need a name to know this. The cloth bag, in that cloth bag was a tangerine, an apple, an orange, a bunch of nuts of various
Yeah,
kinds in a bag, and a paper bag with a couple of chocolate pieces of candy and a bunch of hard candy. That was what every Christmas Santa wanted that.
Which would explain our Christmas though.
But what
Yeah.
is interesting in this day and age, we got 2 or 3 pieces of clothing and 1 toy.
Oh, but
Yeah.
did you?
Now the toy may have been consisted of a bunch of pieces,
Yeah,
but essentially it was 1 toy.
yeah.
My
But
boys
see-
always got a
But it was-
tangerine.
it was
But
not
see,
about
I
that,
was
it was
born,
more about-
I was
yeah.
born in the middle of the quote Great Depression,
Depression.
and so
Why did you
we
say
were
quote?
we were
That's like the
Yeah.
The moon
I'm surprised she was able to get sugar.
Why did you?
Well, I'm surprised she was able to get sacks of
because
sugar.
everybody puts quotes on it. You look at 2008, oh, it's a depression. Well, it really wasn't
well,
a
I
depression,
know.
but that's what
Yeah.
everybody thinks. You look at 1987, and everybody, oh, that was a terrible
Yeah,
depression.
but 32.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
The
32 is like the standard.
1929
Well, that's why I said
Yeah,
why
was that the
quotations.
center
I mean,
of
that's
it?
To make sure
the depression.
everybody knows what
That was the
depression
real thing.
you're talking
the big
about. That
depression,
was
the real one.
Great Depression.
Yeah.
For us, not, I don't know, maybe 200 years
Well,
ago, there was a
yeah.
worse one. But Pop worked, at one time, Pop worked 3 days a week. Everybody that I knew was in the same boat. And looking back, we were poor as church mouse.
Yeah.
But nobody knew it, because you were just as poor as I was.
Did you own your house or was it a rented house?
No, we rented.
Okay.
And during the Second World War, the man who rented us to us died. His daughter wanted to raise the rent, couldn't
Yeah,
raise
yeah,
rent
yeah.
during the war, so she sold it. We had to move.
Oh, you had to move.
But,
Do you remember where the house was? Oh, it was up
Yeah.
in Chicago,
oh
right?
yeah.
It was
Or-
there.
or
Wow.
Illinois, yeah.
When we went up for
Yeah.
Hillary's graduation, Tom drove us around.
Oh, that's right.
showed
Yeah,
us
you
the
were
2
saying
houses.
that.
I don't
Oh.
remember ever seeing the
I
first
never-
house.
I don't
ever.
The
I
second
kinda-
one.
On 22nd Street?
The 2-story house. I don't remember that one at all.
Oh, I thought we sure have driven.
No,
We probably
I
did, but I
only
don't
remember
remember.
the one house.
I only remember the
grandma
one
was
grandma
in.
lived
You don't
in.
remember
Neither.
the 2-story house
No.
on 22nd
Well,
Street?
we would drive by.
Wedgwood?
and it was like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
you drove
well,
by,
what
it was
has-
The one in
terrible.
Rock Island.
Oh.
Yeah.
I remember Grandma's house a little bit. I remember.
Well, not
That
grandma's
was a
house, but
great
the
place
other house before
because-
grandma's
Oh.
house.
We lived second house from the corner.
Yeah.
Here was the street, and here was the biggest estate you've ever seen in your life, the Hallberg's estate, which is, when
They
he
were.
died, he willed it I don't know if he willed it to the state or to the city, but it's a huge preserve.
Now I do remember walking through there.
Okay, well, see, it was right.
I remember the
Well, you must have
stockyards.
seen
remember
the
the
house.
stockyards.
You may not
That's all I
remember.
remember.
The
The stockyards.
do you remember the Blackhawk
Blackhawk
shopping
State
center?
Park.
I
Oh,
remember
well, now you're
Piggly
thinking
Wiggly.
of Black Hawk State Park, which is out
Yeah.
No,
No,
the
yeah.
shopping center.
No, he's
Piggly
talking
Wiggly.
about the shopping center, which was right,
Well, that was
There's
on
still
11th
pictures
Street.
there.
yeah.
Right.
Do you still have them?
Well, when we were there, the shopping center's gone. The big Indian sign that was out
Yeah.
front, that was still there, but everything else was
Yeah,
completely
but see,
gone.
that was
And
nowhere
it was-
close to where I originally lived.
But that was.
Well, no, but that was close to Grandma's house.
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was close.
Oh, yeah,
Now, how
that
long
was
were you
only 4
married?
blocks.
Before you had your first child, Tom?
5 minutes.
Yeah, 3 months.
No.
How long were you
this
married?
was a scandal.
years.
That's what I was
Oh.
telling me.
I said, how long were you married
It took you a
before
while to
you
have
had
your
your first child?
to have Katrina.
Yeah,
3
but
years.
we came back to Louisville before.
Yeah, 3 years. The whole idea of Catholic couple not having kids.
Not
right
having
away.
kids?
Well, if you want to know the truth.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking, this is your last opportunity to tell the truth to me, because I'm
We
never
tried.
coming again.
Well,
We're unsuccessful.
Well, that's what. But I
I
had
couldn't
this.
figure out what was wrong.
But I had this
Melvin went to the doctor. He checked sperm count. It was low.
Getting a little uncomfortable, are you now?
I'm comfortable with sperm count, I just want to know where he's
I
going.
don't remember how he came
I
to
didn't
this.
check that in the.
She had
It was just the. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
I remember that.
they counted it by.
You
infection.
remember Piggly Wiggly?
So he treated that
They counted by weight.
about 2 months or 3
Wine
months.
almost came out his nose.
She
But
was pregnant. And as Dave Sen, the math professor at Earthside
Yeah, I
College
could've- yeah.
said, all I had to do after that was take off my t-shirt and wig.
I just remember
And I
having
maintain at this point in
yeah,
time,
obviously.
whatever happened, I'd have gone back and punched that doctor right in the nose.
Wait a minute, I was.
Yeah, your children are at the table, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
just
younger
remember,
ones
Mom, you
especially.
talking about it, talking about the fact that you hadn't had kids and there was a scandal of birth control and what was going on and
I don't know.
that you had. I remember having
No, but that was the
conversation with
60s.
you. No, it was 57. I mean.
Oh, is that when Katrina was born? 50?
60. But
Yeah,
they
so-
were married in 57.
Oh, yeah,
It took
yeah,
a while.
Yeah, we were married at 57.
And there was a long
Katrina
time
was
to
Well,
have
nobody
that
would deny it
surgery.
now. I
No.
remember you guys dragging it. I remember when I first came and saw the family, and everybody went to church. So they took up the whole
Pew.
pew,
Oh, yeah.
and
The
everybody.
fifth pew back in church.
Yep.
On the left side.
Behind the Beckers.
Behind the Beckmans.
Beckers.
Beckmans.
Beckman's.
Exactly.
Beckman. Right? Colleen Beckman.
I'm thinking of Jenny Becker.
Oh,
Who's Jenny Becker?
We
The
still.
little redhead girl that was in my class. In
I know.
I
Pius.
know who you
Are you
mean.
paying attention to
not with
that?
all 8 kids in tow.
God, thank
She's
you.
a
kindergarten
Charlie
teacher
Brown.
now.
He needs a new
Won't
t-shirt.
guarantee the family. Go to church.
And he followed her. He knows that she's a kindergarten teacher now.
Have you ever heard of Facebook?
Oh, he follows her. He sits outside her house.
Steve Becker was in Deb's class.
Actually, I think I remember him.
Now, who was in what class?
Oh, I remember Steve.
No, I had a Becker in my
I
class.
said I think I had a Becker in my
Somebody
house.
walked up and
My
said,
house.
"Hello,
I mean,
I mean, it was the same type of family. It was a
Yeah,
big,
yeah.
typical
Well, like the
whole
Shums.
pew.
So-and-so now.
Like the Shums.
But they were
Because
older. They didn't age family.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But
But
Scott
not
was
like
the
the
youngest.
Beckmans
He was in
who
my
were from a
class.
divorced
And then
family
exponential
and
after
they
that.
married
Well,
and
not
they were
only did
Brady's. And one of them
Yeah.
didn't go get communion.
And I tutored
I guess neither one of them went to
until
get
he was out of high
communion.
school.
But they went to
Four
church.
more years.
But she didn't go get
didn't go to
Well,
that.
she talks about how much fun they
That's all I
had
remember.
as kids for Christmas here. Like he would go outside and get the tree.
And the tree
set
would
it
always
all,
end up on
yeah.
the porch, which would show up, and all of a sudden the tree would be on
Yeah.
the front porch.
Santa made a
Where are
special
the little
delivery
ears?
for us.
On Christmas morning?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Christmas
Santa
before
Claus
That's the
Christmas,
way
Hey.
it was
Christmas
for
Eve.
me.
Santa Claus actually.
leaders
That's
in the
not
house.
why
Yeah,
I
the
was
leaders
saying
were
that's
leaders.
why I keep
Susan.
her
Oh, yeah.
there.
Tell him about
But
when Santa
that's-
Claus
Why are you
came.
saying that?
Knocked on the window.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, I said I didn't
We-
say
But
anything. I just
That was
That's
the
that's
point.
what.
You didn't say anything.
No.
No, I've told him about the Santa
Just
Claus.
saying, talking
About
That
Santa
was,
Scared the hell
that
out of
was
you.
Spitz or his son.
Dad.
That
When
was
they
his
got
dad.
knocked on the window?
I think
Oh,
They're
why
not
you still
paying
do
attention
that?
to us.
No.
That's good.
Yeah.
No, I've
Spitz was
told
was a
him.
PR person
just
for
see.
Ursuline College
Yeah.
when I taught there. And he was really, you appreciate it, he was real Italian.
What's that mean?
But it was,
You know, you're a
Real
real Jew.
Do you have that on film?
but he really got into things. And that's what he used to do. He used to dress up and come on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. I heard all about that, and everybody would go crazy. Ooh.
Yep.
Well,
Oh.
we would hear
And
jingle
that's how
bells
the
and
kids would go to
everybody would
bed.
run and look.
Right.
And literally something, we were looking out in the distance to try and see him running across the field or whatever. And all of a sudden something came up and blocked
my
my
God.
view. So I brought my view and all of a sudden there was this face.
Yeah.
Screamed, ran, I almost tipped the rocking
Then you
chair
would tell the
over
kids
when I
to
jumped
run.
in. It
Yeah.
scared the hell
That'd
out
be
of me.
wonderful.
In fact, that whole family was great. There was a woman who worked in the office at Ursula. Her name was Pat Straight, owned a place out in
That was great.
See, we
Pee Wee
found-
Valley, which is
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a suburb that is kind of I guess a never land, but it was a nice place. And we would
Pee Wee
have our
He's right.
closing or spring picnic out there. The
Straights.
park.
We
Yeah,
go out
did
to
the
the
thing.
straights. I
I
don't
thought
know.
we had that
And
here.
we went out there
No,
one
that was
No, that was
time.
the Kim party.
No, this-
When we went out there, drove out there, it was a beautiful day. We got there, the clouds rolled in and it poured.
We
And
sat
we ended
underneath
up
the table,
sitting underneath
picnic table.
tables and everything. And all of a sudden, here comes Spitz and his family down the driveway. They were in a convertible and they couldn't get and then they sat absolutely drenched. Oh, yeah, that was a great family. In fact, his youngest daughter used to go to St. Pius, but she
I
married a
haven't-
Rocky.
Yeah, her name was Trish Rocky, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen her and
No,
them for a long
they
time. They
must
must
have
have
moved.
moved.
Facebook.
There were some great
And sit
people.
outside their house.
Yeah, that's why to this day I love the people that I taught with at Ursula. That was a family. Dave Sen,
Yeah,
Pat Straight, Spitz. Ah,
we had a good time.
and even the nuns were a great bunch to teach
Even
with.
the nuns.
No, they were a great bunch. Well, nowadays people kind of,
Well, what was Ursula?
Turn
That
up
was a
their
college
nose
or a
at it.
hi-
Yeah,
yeah.
but it was a small college,
So it's
so
like
you
a
knew
family.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
You knew the students.
What
you
year?
knew
How
everybody
long ago
who
was
taught.
that? The 60s?
Before that, I
59.
graduated
I
from
started in
Ursula
September of
55.
59. And then, of course, they merged with Bellarmine in
was
68. But that was a great
Oh,
place.
speaking of Bellman, Jack has a lacrosse evaluation coaching session with one of the coaches from Bellarmine
Oh, good,
coming up in a couple of weeks.
good.
Cool.
Well, they're stuck. They're now in the
They're Division One.
yeah, they're Division One. I can't remember. I think they're with one of the East Coast leagues.
Are they ACC?
They're not ACC. Jack would know.
Oh.
No, it's not ACC, but I thought it was with one of them out there.
What?
I know they played Notre Dame.
Yeah. Jack and the Kingdom.
ECAC.
What with the Crush dudes, right?
Which one is it?
Yeah.
ECAC, it's like
Good.
I don't know, Loyola and I don't know who else.
Marquette.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Do whatever you can to get in there because that is a good school these days.
Yeah.
They have really developed well, and I'm talking about academically.
Well, we went to
Good
see
school.
we went to see them play Michigan. What, 2 years ago?
Last year.
It's 2 years ago. We didn't go last summer. We went down to watch them play Michigan. It was fun.
Well, the good thing is they don't have a football team. Now, they've got a good baseball team, but because they don't have a football team, they don't have the big
Yeah.
to-do over
They can't
football.
get. They can't get.
Now, they got a great basketball team.
What year did you move into this house?
69.
69.
Yeah, 69.
We know that because
August
that's
of
the
Did you
year
build
I
a
broke
house?
my right leg, and your mother-in-law had to drive her husband all over town during one of the
Worst.
most iciest, worst
Oh, we had
winters in the world.
fog that was so bad it froze on the.
On the windshield?
That's what had a freezing fog. We had really good weather that
You were-
winter.
You were pregnant that winter, right?
I'm sure.
No, it was the fall. It was the fall.
When would she not have
The odds are
been?
She was.
Yeah.
Would be the
If
foul.
I had money to put down.
Because you were
Yeah.
born in
70.
70.
Dad was 68.
And they brought home
I
KFC.
can remember the year you were born because I remember you're 10 years younger than Katrina, and I always know she was born in 60.
The rest of us.
Sorry, everybody else.
The rest of us were on the card in his wallet. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, the
first
rest
we
of
were
it somewhere in
thinking
between.
was plant
You
strawberries.
notice they stopped once they.
Oh, that's
But
a
the
thing.
Once they got it
idea that
right.
in the fall you put
It was the
straw
nadir,
around
they
them.
Yeah,
So
we're
guess
watching
who
the
got the
trajectory.
job of putting the straw around them?
Well, you're lucky. I had my leg broken, but Paul put in the sidewalk on the front, in front of the
That's
porch.
true.
Now you didn't build this house though, did
Yeah.
you? Oh, you did?
Well, we didn't build it. We designed it and had it built.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
But they
And
did.
her brother and myself and Imelda would come out on weekends and do a lot of the detail work to save money.
Oh, did you?
In fact, the 4th of July weekend, her brother and I ended up painting the entire house in white inside. We never worked so fast. Now, we were lucky.
Uncle
Nothing
Paul?
Well,
was
we
down.
were lucky that
Nothing
the
was
hardwood
down.
floors weren't down, so we could just go like
Yeah.
that.
The salt floor?
Yeah, but we got them all painted. In fact, you remember Rosemarie's husband,
Oscar.
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 Uncle Oscar.
That's when we were introduced to him.
Oh,
She
yeah.
brought him out, and we were standing right there in the living
I'm
room.
glad that's. Did we get that scene?
And how old was he?
Introduced us, and he was
There you go.
immaculately dressed.
Oh,
He already
was
was.
And so I thought, well, we're finished here, so I put the lid back on the can of paint, stopped on it.
Splatter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just splattered him with white paint.
White oil paint.
It was kind of,
Can never get it out.
she's not
Lead.
there. It was kind of like the frozen
Margarita.
strawberry
A
margarita.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that was. Oh, that was the summer. No. What was I doing that summer? Because when we moved on the
You
15th
worked
of
at
August,
DuPont.
I was doing something.
You were working for DuPont.
But see, I thought I'd worked at DuPont the year before so we could pay off buying the land.
Well, you got
What
lucky.
the heck
I
was
think,
I
man.
doing?
You worked at DuPont more
Because
than
when you
once.
people moved in,
people.
I wasn't here.
When you people moved in, his life.
So we had choice.
Moved
You
out
were
of your
even
mother
alive.
into the house.
I wasn't here. I was not involved with the day we moved, and I don't remember what I was doing.
Drinking.
Mom was by the end of it.
I thought in 60.
I remember that we ended up
Can you imagine
coming in the
7 kids and
windows of the den
Imagine having
because
7
the
kids.
floor hadn't been just
Yeah.
laid and it hadn't dried.
Right, I do remember
And we,
that.
so we all
Who's
came
gonna
in the
send this
window,
all
I'll
put it up on
into the
YouTube.
den.
Because I have one too.
I don't know.
Remember Christmas we all got together years and years ago? I have stories from that too, so that was good. We're talking bylines over here. But it must have been easy to raise 8 kids anyway.
Oh, sure.
Good.
These
Sure,
are
it's not a big
labor.
deal.
You know, free labor. I remember all sorts of,
Yeah.
picking beans and cutting corn. And
Cutting grass.
So you guys
Hay baling.
had the
Baling
No,
hay.
doing the corn.
Baling
Yeah.
hay was
What's
the
the
worst.
foundation made of?
Yeah.
That,
Is this
that
not
rectangular
concrete?
cart.
Okay.
Someone had to stand on it.
No,
Would
but
you
you
have
know,
to
talking
climb?
about when your mother and I were young, they used to play softball or whatever in the street, which was
Oh, yeah.
illegal. And we didn't play in the street per se, but we lived on the side of a hill. It was great in the wintertime to go sledding on it. But we never worried about traffic because there weren't that many cars. And when a car would come, we'd all scatter and wait until it went by.
It was
You mean the family?
with playing baseball in the middle of the street, the catcher and the pitcher were looking that direction.
Yeah.
Everybody else was looking this direction, and the police would come down because they didn't want us in the street. So whoever saw the police yelled, "Police!" By the
And you
time
all
the police got there, there was nobody there. By the time
That's
they got to
usually
the
the way it
next
is.
block,
So our
they
criminal
were all back.
Everybody came out.
Let's say, now, that we didn't have the problem with the police, we just had the problem with the cars. And
Yeah,
there just
yeah.
weren't that many cars.
Yeah.
And during the Second World War, there were very few cars
Right.
because you couldn't get gas.
Or tires.
Yeah, or tires.
Or cars, yeah.
And the hill was great for
But if you
sledding.
had a car, you couldn't
And in
drive it in
Hallberg's
places you
estate,
couldn't get
they
any
had
gas
a
to
great
drive.
big
No, my dad had a
this
good
way
job because
and
he was
around
supplying
and over a bridge
canvas
and
to
this
the
way and then
government
out
for
on the
uniforms.
22nd Street.
Oh, really?
And when we
So
got
he
an
had
ice
a good-
storm,
Was this a
You got
long,
one of the
like when
top-
you were kids or no?
gasoline.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it?
when he
When he was a kid,
But
yeah,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Gas.
but when we had an ice
So the-
storm and that was all
And the
ice.
men went to work in
that
the
was
morning,
the
there wasn't a car in the
greatest.
place.
Oh,
They went.
to come down
looking
that
for
on a sled was something.
Yeah.
That's one, that's still in out here.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's out there.
What are you doing?
I just stay where you are.
Huh?
Kathy's getting one.
What are those two doing?
I don't know if they're putting stuff away. I don't know what they're doing. How about a glass?
Dirty.
No, it was upside
That's so
down.
dirty.
This one was on the table.
For what?
Oh, look, they're the same thing.
Yeah, gee.
Give me some
She
blue
wants
wine.
some wine.
Blue wine. She's falling that apart.
I moved the
Just
bottle
take
off the
it. It is a
table
good
so we
thing you're
can,
not driving back and
Here,
forth.
if you want that, that's yours.
Not particularly.
She calls it
Well,
effect.
your daughter. Drink it before your daughter gets it.
It's not blue.
What time is
It's wine.
Okay, this is
8:23.
mine.
I'm Lobra. If you haven't.
it? William, Tommy, 7 minutes.
If you don't know from the last 30
It's
years.
young.
Well, that's
Yeah,
that's
it's young.
great.
No, it's sweet.
Yeah.
I'm always interested to hear what the holidays were like in the 40s.
Well, you know, I
Yeah,
don't.
or even after the war and during the war, because it must have been much different.
My Christmases were always the same. My grandparents came to our house.
Yeah.
So then when they were gone, everybody went to my mother's house, which was Grandma's house by that time, because my nieces and nephews were coming. So we always went to go until, I don't know when Jane decided that she would do it. And she did it for a few years, and then I said, well, the heck with it. I wouldn't have won with all the kids that
I don't remember going to
were
change.
young.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, they're
Across from
kids
St.
were older.
Barnabas?
For
So we
Easter,
started
not for
having
Christmas.
Christmas here.
It's always Easter.
I remember,
Yeah.
because we, when
I
it
remember going to
was,
Grandma's
I was asking,
I remember
Playing
Christmas
bingo.
here.
I would
Yeah,
always
that's
thought,
Easter.
I always wondered what it was like
Wizard of
Wizard of
Oz.
Oz.
during
Scared
World
the
War
monkeys.
II, when the war was
Yeah,
on,
didn't like
and your
those
brothers
monkeys
were, you
either.
know, when people were over there.
you know, I
was the
remember,
celebration
I
of
remember
Christmas
Easter
here?
at
It must have been like
James
so- it
because
must have
when
been
it
a
would
very
rain, it
somber,
was nasty.
but
We would
it
have
was-
the
Started
egg
at
out in the
Rosie's
basement.
too. I remember
I
we'd
don't
go down
remember.
and
I don't remember any egg hunts.
Rosie
No.
You
always
can only
has
see it in the
toys in the
movies.
basement.
Well, let's put it this way,
Roses.
as
Yeah.
a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, I didn't know what that word would mean.
What word?
You know, when you say
Somber.
somber, and
Yeah.
I know, obviously I know, but Christmas was Christmas. It was an exciting time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
I would
this,
think, like, it's the whole,
well, something else, now this is something I don't think you did, and I told you about this before, you may know it too. December 8th is a holy day, and of course in our days, you started school in Labor Day, you got off the holy days and Thanksgiving
Yeah.
and so forth. Well, on December 8th, that was the day Mom, in a sense, took off. We went to Mass, went to Swan and Bonson's drugstore, and this happened with all my brothers
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
before
yeah.
I was old enough to get involved here. Went to Swan and Bonson's drugstore and had breakfast. Went through all of the stores in Rock Island looking at everything for Christmas. Took the bus. I think if the ferry was still going across the Mississippi, we'd pay 5 cents a piece and go across on the ferry. If it was too cold and frozen, we'd take the bus to Davenport, Iowa. We then would take the entire rest, well, not the most of the rest of the day, but at least the rest of the morning, have lunch, little more time, all we needed in Davenport, going through every store. And every store, all of the big stores, had
displays,
the
yeah.
Yeah, well, the Christ-
animated
oh, yeah.
Christmas
Yeah.
scenes. We looked at every single one of those, got on a bus, went through the Rock Island Arsenal to Moline, Illinois, went through every store in Moline, Illinois, looked at everything, got
Didn't buy
on a
a
bus,
damn thing.
No, they
went
couldn't.
home.
You wouldn't.
That was December 8th for us. And that...
What holiday is that, or what
The
Saint's Day?
Immaculate
The thing is-
Immaculate
Oh, the
Conception
Immaculate
is what I'm
Conception.
thinking.
Yeah.
That's Christmas.
But
Yeah, what's
Day.
that?
except for
I get that day off now.
buying lunch
Oh.
and dinner, or
didn't spend the
breakfast
dime.
and lunch.
Yeah.
We didn't buy anything, we just looked at everything. Of course,
That's where I
every
get it from.
tourist department you looked at, and I went this and this and that. And I don't think you did that, did you?
And the Red
And that's how it
Riding
was
Hood
We went
down with the
downtown
compass in
because
the stock.
spirits and compass and everybody had
Yeah.
the big window displays
yeah.
that you could go see 'em. One would have Santa Claus and the other one would have deers or something, but they all had something. But, and it was the age because we were out of school.
Yeah.
But I don't remember doing that the year of
The war.
the war
Yeah.
because that would have been the next morning.
You must have
Yeah.
family in the war
Just
too.
your brothers, right?
I had two brothers. One was in New York and then went out to see all the things. Paul was in the Air Force and he purposely flunked out of pilot training so he could be a photographer.
Oh.
And he was in India and Burma
Did the Himalayan.
and he loaded the cameras in the airplanes,
Yep.
took the film out and developed it so they had a new
Pick up your bag.
Yeah.
And he was in, we had color pictures that he used to show. It was in India when they still were really Hindu
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
things. It was very interesting, but that's as close as battle either one of
Yeah.
them got.
None of your sisters did any
Wags. They
service
were
or
wags or wags.
No, none of them were wax.
Or waves.
They were nurses' aides.
But they were all in the States. None of them were.
No, none of them left home. But Rosie worked in the hospital like 3 or 4 days a week so that then because of the nursing shortage here, because the
They're
nurses were
gone.
gone, type of thing. And they all had jobs downtown doing.
That must have been a horrible thing.
But the rest of
Just
it,
to go through and waiting for the and every
Yeah.
night listening to the updates on what was happening in Germany and not knowing whether it was a proper update
It
or whatever.
still astounds me that you
Yeah.
didn't lose a brother in the war.
I was just thinking that earlier.
No,
Of the
I didn't
four of
really.
them,
Yeah, that's really
brothers
astounding.
And they were all in
really
combat.
did not get to know any of my brothers. I really didn't. I did know Dick because, well, he was 6 years older than me, but at least I got to know him before he was drafted out of high school.
Right.
But my older brothers, I never knew because once they went to the army, by the
They
time
never
they
came
got
back.
out, either they got married while they
Yeah,
were in the
yeah.
army or very shortly
And
thereafter.
they were gone.
So yeah, I never really knew my 3 older brothers.
But I think that none of them died in the war.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
4
I'm
brothers.
just trying to imagine
That
what it would
was
be
one
like.
of the things. There was a family, the Dasso family, that owned a
All
family
5.
farm in Rock Island. They lost two men, both in the Air Force, and a daughter who was a nurse.
Wow.
All 3 of them were killed.
yeah, I think
You
the
think
closest
this
we
is-
came was one of Jenny's best friends' brother was killed in the war.
But you know, now I don't know about you, but as the 10, 11, and 12, I never thought about the war.
It must have been on the radio
terrible
at night,
Nazis
a
or
little
those
bit, yeah.
Japs. But I never, I'm sure my mother and dad did, and I know it was
Well,
on.
yeah, definitely.
But I never really paid that much attention to it in terms of my brothers.
Yeah.
They're my brothers, they're gonna come home,
And
you know. And I'm sure all kids thought that.
don't think
So
about
you
it
would all
until-
gather around the radio every night.
They're coming back.
Now, what were the radio
Enter the
programs
camera.
that were
See, that
popular
was the
back
thing.
then?
These days, everything's instant and you've got
No,
17,000
you had to wait
cameras.
until 7 o'clock
Yeah.
to get news or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we were kids, you
Well.
went to the movies and you had a little 15-minute
The
thing.
newsreel, yeah, the movie
Yeah.
tone, yeah.
And that was all you ever saw.
You need a kiss.
No.
Are you going to bed?
No.
No.
I don't know.
Oh,
want
you want
milk?
some milk?
I'll get it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Kathy's gonna help you, honey.
So sweet.
I mean, what were the big radio programs in the 40s? The Shadow was that big?
Well-
Oh, Jack Benny was big.
Green Hornet, The Shadow,
Lone
Are you talking to your
Ranger.
10-year-old?
believe believe it or not, the Lone Ranger,
Oh, I believe it.
Terry
yeah.
and the Pirates, Little Orphan Annie,
Terry.
Captain
Decoder
Midnight.
The music was all swing, I'm sure.
That's Dick Tracy.
Oh, with Tom
Dakota
Darcy
Ring.
and.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
the Little Orphan
absolutely.
Annie. Dakota Ring from A Christmas Story.
There
No.
might have been others, but
I mean,
don't
that came
remember.
from
And the music
Dakota
was
Ring
swing
from
music.
Dick Tracy.
I got you
Or a
right.
lot of
Yeah, big
my-
band.
It's got my
big band. That's what I
Big
mean.
band.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
talking about.
There you go.
I'm
The
talking about
Dorseys and
reality.
the Millers and
Yeah.
Glenn
Yeah, I
Miller, Benny
love
Goodman.
I love Glenn Miller.
And you know what I like
To
is
this day, I like
Glenn Miller was MIA.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then oh, what's his name? The other clarinetist, the Jewish
Artie
guy,
Shaw.
Artie Tchaikovsky. Yep, Artie Shaw.
I'm sure. Yeah.
We're writing this down for Christmas.
Yeah, there were a lot
It
of.
would have been a great time if there
And
wasn't a world war.
you know
going
what's
on.
missed though, I think, and I don't ask me names because I couldn't give them to you. But everybody talks about the big bands, but there's very little said about the vocalists that went with them. And there were
yeah,
some
all of them.
tremendous
Yeah.
vocalists.
Well, I watched something the other day. They had the Andrews sisters in there.
Oh, yeah.
We watched Abbott and Costello the other day.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the-
yeah. I saw
Yeah,
that
they
too.
were always
Yeah.
in Abbott and Costello
Yeah.
movies.
And they had the one ugly sister. And
You're right, Laverne.
the one, yeah, the one on the
Oh, now there's a favorite. There's a favorite
left. It's
movie,
not a handsome one.
The three of
and
them
I don't
were in.
remember the name of it.
What was it? Who was in it?
The Andrews sisters were in it.
Buck Privates in the Navy? Oh, all right.
Who wrote God Bless America?
Irving
Irving
Berlin?
Berlin.
Irving Berlin was one of the stars in it, and it had to do with the army, and I don't remember the name of it.
Oh,
But
was it
it's where Yankee
Doodle
Doodle.
Dandy?
No,
You're-
that was with
Cagney.
Cagney. I like that movie, but I wouldn't be a
I love
favorite.
that movie.
But this one, boy, I wish I could. It had to do with the army, and I don't really remember the
And Irving Berlin
storyline.
was in it,
But
yeah.
Irving Berlin starred in it,
IMDb.
or was one of the stars.
Anna?
And they played all of his music.
There's a prophet.
There were a lot of movies like that back then too. Because we
Oh,
watched,
yeah.
I watched a movie that had, who was the guy who used to do the piano rolls, who did Rhapsody in Blue? Gershwin.
Oh, Gershwin.
Yeah, and they had a lot.
Yeah.
They were in the movie, and it was a movie about George and Ira Gershwin and the whole thing. But one of the brothers was in it.
You would know piano players. What was the name of the piano player that literally was crazy? I mean, really. had
Jerry
a-
Lee Lewis.
No. This
Oh.
is an older fellow. It would have been back in the time you were talking about. Oscar Levant.
Oh, I
Oh,
know.
he
Yeah.
Oscar Levant. He was
I'm sorry,
crazy.
Mr.
Oh, he played the piano.
Who do people talk about from the 40s that I always saw?
By the way, and I don't mean that facetiously, he really
He's nuts.
was
Certified.
really off.
Completely
Certifiable?
insane.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I can't recognize it.
But boy, could he play the piano
He was in
when
the
he
That's
sat
right.
down.
Like the Gene Kelly stuff.
That means
Can't
You
identify
recognize
the
that
crazy person in
Yeah, I
your
know
room.
that.
You know who it is?
Yeah, I know.
Battery's dying.
This is
That's
the
all right.
Army?
Let it run.
This is the Army?
Maybe.
No, no.
Yeah, that's it.
something like
This is the army.
Let it
Don't
run.
you love our
This is the army,
Yeah.
Mr. Jones.
Do you have a quote?
No,
I don't think so.
No, but that's all right. We got a lot.
and that's the one where they sang about
That's the only movie he was
killing
an
the
actor in.
bugler.
Yeah, well,
This is the army.
they sang about what?
Killing the bugler.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's it. This is the army. That would be now thinking. And I must admit, I can't think of the movie itself. But that would have been a favorite movie
Good
of
one.
mine, watching it, because it was so much fun to watch. Does it?
In World War I, dancer Jerry Jones stages an all-soldiers show on Broadway called Yip Yip Yap Hank.
Does it?
Wounded in the war, he becomes the producer. In World War II, his son Johnny Jones.
What was the release date?
Oh, it had to be 42, 41.
43.
What did you say?
43.
Oh yeah, 1943.
Okay, that's probably when I would have first seen it.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys like Bob Hope and Bing Crosby and the Road
Oh, the road.
movie? Yeah, you
They
think
were
they're
fun to
funny?
watch.